I'm Riley, 28, and just weeks ago, I thought my big brother Aiden and I were tight as a drum, despite him being 5 years older. When he and his wife Harper asked to use the family home, Mom's legacy to me after I nursed her through cancer, for their big vow renewal bash, I was all in, heart on my sleeve. But behind their warm smiles and big hugs lurked a cold-blooded plan to swipe the house I'd poured my soul into keeping. And before we get back to the story, would you be kind enough to give this video a like? You know, every single like means a lot to me. It's the kind of encouragement that keeps me creating and bringing you even better stories tomorrow. Trust me, you'll want to stick around when my lawyer flips the script on their scheme. Our home, a 3-bedroom ranch just outside Chicago, wasn't just walls and a roof. It was my anchor. Picture a wraparound porch where fireflies dance at dusk, a backyard big enough for summer barbecues, and a creaky old swing where Mom and I used to share lemonade and dreams. I'd spent years making it mine, paying off the mortgage with every dime I scraped together as a bank loan officer. That house held memories of Mom's final days, her frail hand in mine during those endless chemo runs, and the quiet promise I made to keep her legacy alive. Aiden and I grew up in that house, 2 kids against the world after Dad split. He was in high school. I was barely in middle school when Dad packed his bags for California, leaving us with a mom working double shifts at the hospital. Aiden played the protective big brother, teaching me to throw a punch when bullies circled, sneaking me extra cookies when Mom wasn't looking. But even back then, I sensed a pattern. Like the time he saved me from a schoolyard fight, only to pocket the $10 I'd saved for a new backpack as his hero fee. I brushed it off as kid stuff, but it planted a seed. He had this charm, Aiden did, could talk his way out of a paper bag. While I was grinding through babysitting gigs and burger flipping to get through community college debt-free, he coasted on charisma, landing sales jobs that never quite stuck. I'd always been the planner, the one who kept the lights on, figuratively and literally. When Mom got sick, I was the one at her side, juggling work and hospital runs while Aiden sent texts from afar, promising visits that rarely happened. Yet I never held it against him. Family sticks together, right? When Aiden called about their vow renewal, his voice crackled with excitement, like he was planning the surprise of the century. "Harper and I want to talk something over," he said, dropping a winking emoji that made me grin. I figured it was big news, maybe a baby on the way. My friend Leah, who's been my rock since high school, was over that day, sipping coffee in my kitchen. "Bet it's something sweet," she teased, stirring sugar into her mug. "Aiden's always got a flair for the dramatic." I laughed, but deep down, a twinge of unease flickered. His flair sometimes came with strings attached. That evening, I stood on the porch, the air crisp with early fall, watching Aiden's sedan pull into the driveway. Harper stepped out first, her auburn hair catching the golden light, dressed like she'd walked off a magazine cover. Aiden followed, all easy grins and polished charm, like he was about to close a deal. We hugged, and I led them inside, the smell of fresh paint from my recent kitchen touch-up lingering. The house felt alive, warm with memories of Mom's laughter echoing off these walls. "Riley, this place is straight out of a dream," Harper said, her eyes sweeping over the hardwood floors I'd refinished myself. "The history, the charm, it's perfect." Aiden slung an arm around her, nodding like he'd just won the lottery. "Sis, every time I'm here it hits me. This house is something else. The porch, the yard, Mom's touch everywhere." His words warmed me, but something about his tone felt rehearsed, like he was laying groundwork. We sat in the living room, sunlight streaming through the bay window, casting long shadows across Mom's old rug. I poured coffee, the steam curling up as I waited for their big reveal. Aiden leaned forward, elbows on his knees, that salesman glint in his eye. "So, we've been racking our brains for the perfect spot for our 5-year vow renewal. Nothing feels right. Too stuffy, too generic." Then Harper had a light bulb moment. Harper picked up, her voice bubbling. We were looking at pics from last summer's barbecue here, and it clicked. This house, Riley, it's the heart of your family, our family. It's where we want to celebrate. My stomach did a little flip. You mean like have the party here? Harper's eyes lit up. Not just a party, the whole deal. Vows on the porch with the trees as a backdrop. Cocktails in the backyard. Reception flowing through the dining room. About 100 guests, tops. We'd handle everything. Catering, setup, cleanup. Aiden chimed in. Picture it, sis. String lights twinkling, flowers everywhere. Us saying, I do again, where Mom used to watch us play. It'd mean the world. I set my mug down, the ceramic clinking against the table. 100 people trampling through my home, the floors I'd sanded myself, the garden I'd tended since Mom's passing. That's a lot of folks, I said, keeping my voice steady. Parking's tight on this street, and there's wear and tear to think about. Liability, too, if someone trips. Aiden's face fell, like I'd popped his balloon. Riley, I thought you'd be pumped. This is our big moment, a fresh start. The air grew heavy. Harper jumped in, all smiles. My firm's got event planners who've done this 1,000,000 times. Insurance, permits, they'll dot every I, cross every T. Aiden reached for my hand, his grip firm, eyes searching mine. Riley, you're the only family I've got left. Dad's gone. Mom's, well, you know, doing this here, in her house. It's like having her with us. Don't you want that? My throat tightened. Mom's memory was a raw nerve, and Aiden knew it. I saw her in every corner of this place, her gardening gloves still tucked in the shed, her recipe cards in the kitchen drawer. The idea of celebrating here felt right, but something gnawed at me, a whisper of doubt I couldn't shake. Was this really just about a party? Or was there more they weren't saying? The doubt lingered like a bad taste as I watched Aiden and Harper drive off that crisp fall evening, their vow renewal pitch still ringing in my ears. Sitting on the porch swing, the creak of its chains a familiar comfort, I couldn't shake the feeling that their plan was more than just a party. Mom's house meant everything to me, a hard-earned haven after years of scraping by. And now Aiden's words, his tug at our shared past, felt like a hook sinking deeper than it should. Growing up, he'd always been my shield, but looking back, I realized I'd carried more weight than I admitted. Our childhood in this Chicago suburb wasn't all picket fences. Dad's exit when I was 12 hit like a wrecking ball. One day he was tossing me into the air. The next he was packing for California, leaving behind a trail of empty promises and birthday cards that dwindled to nothing. Mom, a nurse, picked up extra shifts, her eyes heavy with exhaustion, but always warm for us. Aiden, at 17, stepped up, or so I thought. He'd walk me home from school, scare off the jerks who teased me about my thrift store sneakers, and sneak me his leftover pizza when Mom was too tired to cook. But there were moments that nagged, like the summer I was 14, saving up for a bike. I'd stashed $50 in a tin under my bed, only to find it gone after Aiden helped me fix a flat tire. Lost it at the arcade, he shrugged, promising to pay me back. He never did. I told myself it was just big brother nonsense, but it stung, a crack in the hero I'd built him up to be. By high school, I was the one holding things together. I started babysitting at 13, mowed lawns, flipped burgers at the diner down the street, anything to ease Mom's load. Aiden was charming his way through life, landing gigs selling car stereos or phone plans, but always quitting when the hustle got real. I'd lie awake at night, hearing Mom cough through the thin walls, worrying about bills while Aiden partied with his buddies. College was my ticket out. Not some fancy 4-year deal, but community college, paid for with late-night waitressing shifts. I studied finance, aced my classes, and landed a job as a bank teller by 21. Every paycheck went to savings or Mom's meds, and by 25, I'd climbed to loan officer, helping folks like me chase their dreams without drowning in debt. When Mom's cancer took her 2 years ago, she left me the house, her way of saying thanks for being her rock. I paid off the mortgage with my savings, every cent a testament to my grind. Aiden? He wasn't there much during Mom's final days. He'd call, sure, full of apologies and charm, but his visits were rare, always some excuse about work or car trouble. Still, I bailed him out when he needed it. $200 for textbooks when he tried college again, a cosign on his sedan when his old clunker died. Not because I wanted IOUs, but because that's what family does, right? Blood runs thicker than water. Yet, his silences grew longer after he met Harper. I met her 3 years back at our Labor Day barbecue, the backyard buzzing with neighbors and the smell of grilled burgers. Harper rolled in like she owned the place, all sleek jeans and perfect curls, her laugh cutting through the chatter. She worked in event planning, tossing around names of swanky Chicago venues like confetti. We hit it off, swapping tips on organizing, me with my budget spreadsheets, her with her vision boards. But I caught her eyeing the house too long, her gaze lingering on the hardwood floors I'd refinished. The kitchen I'd updated with my own hands. "Riley, this place is a gem," she said, sipping a beer. "What's the market like around here? You ever think of selling?" I laughed it off. "Nah, this is home." But her questions kept coming. Property taxes, square footage, even if I'd considered renting it out. It felt like an appraisal, not a chat. Leah, my best friend since we bonded over algebra homework, noticed it too. "She's scoping the place like it's on Zillow," she whispered, flipping a burger. I brushed it off, but the seed was planted. Harper's charm felt polished, like she was working an angle. When Aiden announced their engagement a year later, I was thrilled for him, hosting a brunch at a downtown bistro to celebrate. Harper dominated the talk. Venues, guest lists, her dream of a classic yet modern vibe. Their future plans? Vague. "We're keeping our options open," Aiden said, dodging my eyes. "Chasing the next big thing." Lately, Aiden's calls had dried up. Our usual texts, memes, quick check-ins faded to radio silence. When he did reach out, Harper was always there, her voice in the background steering the convo to their new chapter, or how perfect my house was. It wasn't the Aiden I knew, the one who'd blast music in his room while I did homework downstairs. The shift felt off, like a puzzle piece jammed in wrong. Last week, I ran into our old neighbor, Mrs. Carter, at the grocery store. "Heard you're selling the house," she said, her eyes soft with concern. "Aiden mentioned you're moving to the city." My stomach dropped. I hadn't said a word about selling. What was he telling people? That night, alone in the kitchen, I poured a glass of wine and scrolled through old texts from Aiden. One caught my eye, a random message from months back, forwarded from Mom's old email. "Found this in my inbox," he wrote. "Mom talking about how the house is for both of us, always." The email was real, from years ago, Mom musing about us sharing memories here. But the way Aiden framed it felt like a jab, like he was laying claim. I stared at the screen, the wine turning sour in my mouth. Was this just a party, or was Aiden playing a longer game? The unease from Aiden's cryptic text about Mom's old email clung to me like damp fog as I scrubbed dishes in the kitchen, the wine glass still half full on the counter. Was he really hinting at some claim to the house, or was I reading too much into it? The Chicago suburb outside was quiet, the kind of fall night where you could hear leaves rustling, but my mind was loud with questions. Aiden's call the next morning snapped me out of it. His voice bubbled with that familiar charm, like he was about to sell me on a grand adventure. "Riley, can we swing by for coffee this afternoon? Got something big to run by you." My gut twisted, part excitement, part dread. But I agreed, already pulling Mom's old china from the cabinet to make it special. By noon, I'd tidied the living room, the bay window letting in a golden glow that warmed the hardwood floors I'd refinished last spring. The house smelled of fresh coffee and the apple pie I'd grabbed from the farmer's market, its cinnamon warmth filling the air. I smoothed my sweater, trying to shake off the memory of Mrs. Carter's words about me selling the house. Aiden wouldn't spread lies like that, would he? The doorbell chimed, and there they were. Aiden in his usual polo, grin wide as ever, and Harper, looking like she'd stepped out of a lifestyle blog, her auburn hair catching the light. "Riley, this place never gets old," Harper said, her heels clicking as she crossed the threshold, eyes darting to the crown molding I'd painstakingly restored. "It's like a time capsule, but, chic." Aiden chuckled, slinging an arm around her. "Sis, you've got the magic touch. Mom would be proud." His words hit a soft spot, but that nagging doubt from last night made them feel heavy, like a salesman's pitch. We settled on the couch, mugs steaming, the pie sliced neatly on Mom's china. Aiden leaned forward, elbows on his knees, that spark in his eye I knew from his sales days. "So we've been racking our brains for the vow renewal spot. Hotels, banquet halls, none of them feel like us." Harper jumped in, her voice bright but measured. "Then we found those photos from your 4th of July party here. The porch, the backyard. It's perfect, Riley. We want to do the whole thing right here. Ceremony on the porch, cocktails under the stars, reception spilling into the dining room. Maybe 100 guests, give or take." My fingers tightened around my mug, the heat biting my palms. 100 people in my house? The floors I'd sanded until my arms ached? The garden I'd tended since Mom's passing? "That's a lot," I said, keeping my tone even. "The street's narrow, parking's a nightmare, and the wear and tear, scratched floors, spilled drinks. What about liability if someone twists an ankle?" Aiden's face fell, like I'd kicked his puppy. "Come on, Riley. I thought you'd be all in for this. It's our big moment, 5 years with my best girl." Harper leaned in, her smile smooth as silk. "My firm's handled events way bigger than this. We'll get full insurance, permits, the works. You won't have to lift a finger." Her confidence was reassuring, but something in her eyes, too eager, too sharp, set my nerves on edge. Aiden reached for my hand, his grip warm but firm. "Riley, think about it. This house is Mom's legacy. Doing this here, it's like she's part of it, watching us from above. You know how much that'd mean to me, to us." My chest tightened. Mom's memory was a raw wound, and Aiden knew exactly how to press it. I saw her on that porch, laughing as we strung Christmas lights, her voice weak but warm in her final days. The idea of celebrating love here tugged at my heart, but the scale of it felt like a bulldozer rolling over my sanctuary. "How big is this really gonna be?" I asked, glancing at Harper. She waved a hand, casual but quick. "Oh, we're dreaming big, string lights, a floral arch, maybe a small band for ambiance, nothing crazy, but it'll be elegant, timeless." The details poured out too fast, too polished, like she'd rehearsed this for weeks. I shifted, the couch creaking under me. "And the cleanup? The damage? This place is my life, you guys." Aiden's eyes softened, but there was a glint I couldn't read. "We've got you covered, sis. Full cleanup crew, back to normal by Monday morning. You could even crash at a hotel. Let us handle the chaos." Harper nodded, pulling out her phone to show a sketch. White chairs in neat rows, the porch framed in roses. It was beautiful, but overwhelming, like they'd already decided this was their stage. I took a sip of coffee, the bitterness grounding me. Every instinct screamed to say no, to protect this house I'd fought for through years of late shifts and penny pinching. But Aiden's words about Mom echoed, pulling me back to those nights we'd clung to each other after Dad left. Family was supposed to mean something. "Okay," I said finally, my voice quieter than I meant. "But there are rules. You cover insurance, all costs, any damage. The house looks exactly the same by Monday. No exceptions." Aiden's grin lit up the room. "You're the best, Riley." Harper hugged me, her perfume sharp. "You won't regret this. It'll be magical." As they stood to leave, Aiden paused at the door, turning back with that boyish smile. "Oh, and sis, we've got a little surprise for you after the party. Something to make this extra special." He winked, and they were gone before I could ask what he meant. I stood in the quiet, the pie untouched. That word, surprise, hanging like a storm cloud on the horizon. Aiden's cryptic surprise echoed in my head as I locked the front door behind them, the autumn air still carrying the faint sweetness of apple pie. Standing in the quiet of my living room, the bay window framing the darkening Chicago suburb, I couldn't shake the unease that had settled like dust. The house, Mom's house, my house, was supposed to be a sanctuary, not a stage for some grand event that felt bigger than Aiden let on. I told myself it was just nerves, that I was overthinking his charm and Harper's polished plans. But as I sipped the last of my coffee, now cold, I wondered if that surprise was more than a thoughtful gesture. If this story's got you curious about what Aiden's hiding, hit that like button, drop a comment with your guess, and subscribe to catch the next twist. The first planning meeting a few days later felt like a breath of fresh air, at least at first. Jenna, Harper's colleague from her event firm, showed up with a clipboard and a smile that put me at ease. We sat at my dining table, sunlight glinting off Mom's old chandelier, as Jenna sketched out the layout. "Ceremony on the porch, chairs in the backyard, cocktails on the patio," she said, her pen moving briskly. "We'll keep the indoor flow to the dining and living rooms. Your bedroom and office are off limits, locked tight." I nodded, relieved. Boundaries set. Insurance promised. Cleanup guaranteed. Harper beamed, squeezing Aiden's hand. "Told you, Riley, we've got this handled." Aiden flashed that boyish grin, the one that always made me feel like we were kids plotting a prank. For a moment, I believed it'd be fine. That illusion shattered a week later. I was on a Zoom call with a client, mid-sentence about mortgage rates, when a truck rumbled into my driveway. Through the window, I saw guys in work boots hauling shovels and bags of mulch toward the backyard. My heart skipped a beat. I excused myself, muted the call, and stepped outside, the October chill biting through my sweater. "What's going on?" I asked the crew leader, a burly guy with a clipboard. He barely looked up. "Reshaping the flower beds for the event. Mrs. Harper gave the green light." My jaw tightened. "I'm the homeowner, and I didn't approve this." He shrugged, pointing to a work order with Harper's signature. "Talk to her. We're just following orders." I dialed Aiden, my fingers shaking as I paced the porch. "What's with the landscaping crew tearing up my yard?" My voice was sharper than I meant, but the sight of Mom's rose bushes, ones she'd planted when I was a kid, stacked like kindling made my blood boil. Aiden's tone was all breezy calm. "Relax, sis. It's just for aesthetics. Harper thought the garden needed a facelift for the photos. We'll put it back, promise." I pressed. "Nobody asked me, Aiden. That's my call." He sighed, like I was being a stickler. "It's a small tweak, Riley. Don't sweat the small stuff. We're making this perfect for everyone." I hung up, staring at the churned up dirt where Mom's roses used to bloom. My chest felt tight, like the house itself was holding its breath. I wanted to trust Aiden, to believe this was just a mix-up. But Harper's name on that work order, her casual override of my rules, felt like a line crossed. I went back inside, trying to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting to Mrs. Carter's words at the grocery store, her mention of me selling the house. Was that Aiden's doing too? That evening, I ran into our neighbor, Tom, while grabbing the mail. He's the kind who knows everyone's business, always waving from his porch. "Heard you're moving on from the house," he said, leaning on his mailbox. "Aiden was by last week, said you're eyeing a condo downtown." My stomach dropped. "Tom, I'm not selling. This is my home." He frowned, confused. "That's not what Aiden told us. Said you're ready for a fresh start, and he's helping with the transition." I forced a smile, muttering something about a misunderstanding, but my pulse raced as I walked back inside. Later, I poured a glass of wine and sank onto the couch. The living room dim except for the glow of my laptop. I opened my email, half hoping to find clarity, half dreading what I'd see. There it was, a message from Aiden, sent that afternoon while I was dealing with the landscapers. "Hey, sis," it read. "Sorry for the mix-up with the yard. Harper got carried away, but it's all good now. Talk to the crew. They'll restore everything post-party. You're gonna love how this comes together." It sounded sincere, and for a second, I felt a wave of relief, like I'd been too quick to judge. But then I scrolled down, noticing an attachment, a forwarded email from Harper's firm. It was a vendor confirmation, not for landscaping, but for a preliminary property assessment scheduled for the Monday after the vow renewal. My breath caught. The email wasn't addressed to me. It was between Harper and someone named Victor, with a note, "Let's keep this quiet until after the event." I stared at the screen, the wine forgotten, my heart pounding like a drum. What were they planning behind my back? That email from Harper's firm, hinting at a property assessment after the vow renewal, sat like a stone in my gut as I closed my laptop. The living room dim except for the flicker of a single lamp. My Chicago suburb home, Mom's legacy, felt less like mine with every passing day. Aiden's apology about the torn-up garden seemed hollow now, and the neighbor's words about me selling the place, words Aiden planted, kept circling my mind. I wanted to believe it was all a mix-up, that my big brother wasn't scheming behind my back. But as I sipped my wine, its bitterness matching my mood, I couldn't ignore the creeping sense that this vow renewal was a Trojan horse. A few days later, I came home from the bank to find a van parked in my driveway. Elite Interiors emblazoned on the side. Inside, 2 designers were measuring my living room windows, tape measures snapping like tiny whips. One, a woman with a sleek ponytail, jotted notes while muttering about softer neutrals for better lighting. Boss. I froze, my keys still in hand. "Excuse me, what's this?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. She glanced up, unfazed. "Updating the curtains for the event. Aiden said it's a go. Temporary, of course, for the aesthetic." My pulse spiked. "Aiden doesn't live here. I do. Nobody cleared this with me." She blinked, pulling out a tablet. "Got an email from him this morning, confirming." I forced a tight smile, muttering I'd handle it, but my hands shook as I dialed Aiden. He picked up on the 3rd ring, his voice all easy charm. "Hey, sis, what's up?" I didn't mince words. "Why are designers in my house, measuring my windows, saying you approved it?" He laughed, like I'd caught him sneaking cookies. "Chill, Riley, it's just for the party. Harper thought the old curtains looked dated. Temporary swap, that's all." I gripped the phone, pacing the kitchen where Mom's recipe cards still sat in a drawer. "You don't get to decide that, Aiden. This is my house." He sighed, that exasperated tone he used when I was overreacting. "It's for one weekend. We'll switch it back. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." I hung up, my eyes landing on the dining room table, Mom's sturdy oak, where we'd carved our initials as kids. Except it wasn't there. In its place was a sleek, rented banquet table, big enough for a dozen, draped in white linen. A note taped to it read, "Event setup, approved by Harper." My stomach churned. They'd moved my furniture without a word, erasing another piece of Mom's memory. Outside, the backyard was worse. Her favorite maple, the one we'd climb as kids, was half hidden behind a wall of rented rose trellises, their blooms screaming money, not love. The next day, Harper's parents, Victor and Elaine, showed up unannounced. I was in the middle of watering the few plants the landscapers hadn't touched when their polished SUV pulled up. Victor, a retired accountant with a handshake like a vice, surveyed the house like he was pricing it for auction. Elaine, all pearls and smiles, hugged me too tightly. "Riley, this place is a dream," she said, stepping inside. "But it could use some modernizing, don't you think? That den would make a darling nursery." My smile froze. Nursery? They wandered through, Victor tapping walls, muttering about load-bearing this and open concept that. I trailed them, feeling like a guest in my own home. Later, as I cleared coffee cups they'd left on the counter, I overheard them in the backyard. Victor's voice carried through the open window. "This lot's got serious equity, Harper. Prime location, easy to flip after a few updates." Harper's reply was low, conspiratorial. "Once we're settled in, we'll make it our own. Riley won't stick around forever." My heart stopped. Settled in? I crouched by the window, barely breathing, as Elaine chimed in. "Let's not rush it. Focus on the event first." I slipped away before they noticed, my mind racing. That night, I found a business card tucked under a stack of mail on my desk. A real estate agent with a handwritten note about a post-event walkthrough scheduled for Monday. My hands went cold. This wasn't just about a party. I called my Aunt Karen, Mom's sister, hoping for some clarity. She answered, her voice warm but hesitant. "Riley, Aiden called me yesterday, all excited about the vow renewal. Said you're letting them use the house as a family base for a while. So generous of you." My throat tightened. "Karen, I never agreed to that. It's just for the weekend." She paused, confused. "That's not what he said. He made it sound like you're planning to move on." I hung up, my head spinning. Aiden was spinning a web, convincing everyone I was giving up my home. Back at my desk, I opened my laptop, my fingers hovering over the keys. There, buried in my spam folder, was another email from Harper's firm. Not to me, but forwarded by mistake. It was a contract snippet mentioning temporary staging for long-term occupancy planning. The words blurred as my pulse hammered. What exactly were they staging? The contract snippet in my inbox, with its chilling talk of long-term occupancy, burned in my mind as I sat in the dim glow of my desk lamp, the house silent except for the faint hum of the Chicago suburb night. Aiden's lies to Aunt Karen about me giving up the house, Harper's overheard plans to settle in, and that real estate agent's card for a post-event walkthrough. It all pointed to something bigger than a vow renewal. My home, Mom's legacy, felt like it was slipping through my fingers, and I was done second-guessing myself. I needed answers, and I needed them now. The next morning, while sipping coffee in the kitchen, I noticed a folder tucked behind a stack of cookbooks on the counter. It wasn't mine. Heart pounding, I opened it to find architectural blueprints, detailed plans for my house, but not as it was. Walls were marked for demolition, the kitchen expanded into a gourmet setup, and a new wing sketched out where Mom's garden used to thrive. Handwritten notes in the margins listed Master Suite Edition and updated HVAC for resale. My hands shook as I traced the lines, picturing the oak tree we'd carved our initials into, now just a shaded dot on their plan. This wasn't about a party, it was a takeover. I needed perspective, someone who'd cut through the noise. Leah, my best friend since high school and a paralegal in real estate, was my first call. We met at our usual dive bar, a cozy spot downtown with sticky tables and the best wings in town. Over a basket of buffalo sauce-drenched goodness, I spilled everything: the blueprints, Harper's parents' comments, Aiden's lies to the neighbors. Leah's eyes narrowed as she wiped hot sauce from her fingers. "Riley, this smells like adverse possession. If they move in, make improvements, and you don't kick them out fast, they could claim legal rights to the property. It's rare, but it happens." I stared at her, my beer untouched. "They're my family, Leah. Aiden wouldn't—" She cut me off, her voice firm. "He's already lying to people about you selling. You need to protect yourself, now." Her words hit like a punch. Back home, I dug through my inbox again, and there it was, an email from Aiden, sent late last night. "Found this old gem from Mom," he wrote, attaching a grainy scan of a letter she'd written years ago, before the cancer got bad. It was sentimental, talking about the house being a place for both her kids to always come home to. My throat tightened, remembering Mom's voice reading bedtime stories in this very room. But Aiden's note twisted it. "This house is ours, Riley, not just yours. Let's make it a family thing again." It felt like a knife, using Mom's words to guilt me into something I couldn't name yet. I called Carla Ruiz, the lawyer who'd handled Mom's estate, her number still in my contacts from those heavy days. She answered with that calm, no-nonsense tone I needed. "Riley, what's wrong?" I laid it all out, the blueprints, the real estate card, Harper's parents' comments, Aiden's email. "This sounds like a coordinated move," Carla said, her voice sharp. "They're testing boundaries, maybe setting up a claim. We need to lock this down." She outlined a plan: document every intrusion, secure the deed, and be ready to act the day after the event. "Don't confront them yet," she warned. "Let them think you're still in the dark." That afternoon, I grabbed my phone and started snapping photos of every room. The living room with its new banquet table, the backyard with Mom's maple half hidden by trellises, the blueprints still open on the counter. I borrowed a friend's discreet security cameras, the kind you can tuck behind picture frames, and set them up in the hallway and living room, careful to stay within Illinois privacy laws. Every creak of the floorboards made me jump, like the house itself was warning me. I started a notebook, jotting down every detail. The landscaper's unapproved work, the designer's visit, the neighbor's gossip, the emails. It felt like arming myself for a battle I didn't want to fight. As I tucked the notebook away, my phone pinged with another email, this one from the utility company. My heart sank as I read it. A confirmation for a name change on the electric bill, effective Monday after the vow renewal, listing Aiden Thompson as the account holder. I stared at the screen, my breath shallow. He wasn't just planning a party. He was already claiming my home as his own. What else had he done without me knowing? The utility bill email, with Aiden's name brazenly listed as the new account holder, stared back at me from my phone screen, a digital gut punch that confirmed my worst fears. I sat in my Chicago suburb home, the silence heavy except for the faint hum of the fridge, Mom's recipe cards still tucked in the drawer nearby. The blueprints, the real estate card, Harper's overheard plans to settle in. It was no longer just suspicion. My brother was laying claim to the house I'd fought to keep, the one I'd poured every spare dime into after Mom's passing. I clutched the notebook where I'd logged every intrusion, my hands steady but my heart racing. I wasn't just protecting a house, I was guarding Mom's legacy, and I'd be damned if I let Aiden's schemes unravel it. The next morning, with the vow renewal just days away, Aiden called while I was at the bank, my desk cluttered with loan applications. His voice was all sunshine, like nothing was amiss. "Hey sis, quick favor. Can we get a spare key to the house? Easier for the vendors, caterers, florists, you know." I gripped the phone, my jaw tight. "Aiden, you've got access for setup. Why do you need my keys?" He chuckled, that salesman charm on full blast. "Just streamlining things. Oh, and Harper's team needs to store some gear in your garage. Tables, chairs, no biggie." I leaned back in my chair, the office hum fading. "My garage? No. The agreement was porch, yard, and main rooms. That's it." His tone sharpened. "Come on, Riley. Don't be so controlling. It's for one weekend." I took a breath, picturing the banquet table already crowding my dining room, Mom's oak one shoved aside. "And the family photos on the mantle? You want those down too?" I'd noticed a text from Harper last night suggesting we declutter the living room for a neutral vibe. Aiden sighed, like I was the unreasonable one. "Yeah, Harper thought it'd look cleaner for photos. We'll put them back. Relax." My voice hardened. "No, Aiden. The photos stay. The garage is off limits. You're not running a storage unit here. He snapped. Why are you making this so hard? We're family. Thought you'd want to support us. The accusation stung, but I held firm. I'm supporting you by letting you use my home. Don't push it. I hung up, my hands trembling as I stared at a framed photo on my desk. Me and Aiden as kids, grinning by Mom's maple tree. Family. The word felt hollow now. I remembered another time he'd leaned on that word, years back when he was 22, fresh out of a failed sales job. He'd borrowed $500 from me for rent, swearing he'd pay it back when his next gig panned out. I was 17, working doubles at the diner to save for college, but I handed it over because he was my brother. The money never came back, just like my bike savings when we were kids. Now, with his demands piling up, it felt like the same old pattern. Charm, take, disappear. That evening, I met Aunt Karen for coffee at a little shop near her place, hoping she'd shed light on Aiden's talk of a family base. Her eyes softened as she stirred her latte. He sounded so sure, Riley, like you were ready to share the house long term. Said it's what your mom wanted. I shook my head, the betrayal cutting deeper. Karen, he's twisting things. Mom left the house to me because I was there for her. Aiden wasn't. She reached for my hand, her voice gentle. I believe you, honey. But he's convincing. Had me thinking you were on board. I left the cafe with a knot in my stomach, realizing Aiden wasn't just playing me. He was spinning a story to everyone. Back home, the air felt different, like the walls were closing in. I wandered to the living room, where the rented trellises still blocked Mom's maple from view. Harper's latest text popped up. Found a great painter for a quick refresh post-event. Think warm beige. My blood boiled. She wasn't just decorating. She was rebranding my home. I replied curtly, no painting. Stick to the plan. But as I walked through the house, I spotted a new detail. A stack of vendor invoices on the counter, one for consulting on property upgrades, signed by Harper. My breath caught. Then, tucked under a coffee mug, I found a sticky note in her handwriting. Check with V about timeline. V for Victor, her dad, who'd been eyeing my walls like a contractor. I sat on the couch, the weight of it all pressing down. Aiden and Harper weren't just overstepping. They were rewriting the story of my home, and I was starting to feel like a tenant in it. I grabbed a suitcase from the closet, my hands moving on autopilot. The vow renewal was tomorrow, and I couldn't stay here, not with vendors trampling through and Harper's plans creeping closer. I packed essentials, clothes, Mom's recipe cards, the deed locked in a safe, and drove to a cozy inn downtown. As I double-checked the locks on my bedroom and office, the keys heavy in my hand, I felt a pang of guilt for doubting Aiden. But then I remembered the utility email, the blueprints, Harper's sticky note. This wasn't about family. It was about control. What else were they planning to spring on me? Checking into the inn downtown felt like betraying my own home. The cozy room with its quilted bedspread and faint lavender scent, a far cry from the familiar creak of my porch swing. I'd locked my bedroom and office tight, the keys a cold weight in my pocket, but the image of Harper's sticky note, check with V about timeline, and Aiden's lies about me sharing the house gnawed at me. My Chicago suburb haven, Mom's legacy, was under siege, and I was sleeping in a stranger's bed to escape the chaos of their vow renewal prep. As I unpacked my suitcase, Mom's recipe cards tucked safely inside, I couldn't shake the question, what else were they planning? The rehearsal dinner was that evening at a sleek steakhouse downtown, all polished wood and clinking glasses. I arrived early, smoothing my dress, hoping to blend into the festive vibe despite the knot in my stomach. Harper's family swarmed the private room, their laughter loud and their excitement palpable. Victor, her dad, clapped me on the shoulder. Riley, your place is a stunner. Perfect venue for tomorrow. Elaine, her mom, chimed in, her pearls glinting. It's like it was made for events like this. You must be thrilled to share it. Their words felt like probes, testing my reaction. I forced a smile, nodding, but my eyes scanned for Aiden. He was at the bar, charming the bartender, Harper glued to his side in a shimmering dress. I pulled him aside after the appetizers, the clatter of plates muffling our voices. Aiden, what's with the invoices for property upgrades I found, and Harper's note about a timeline with Victor? His grin faltered, but he recovered fast, all easy charm. Riley, you're reading too much into it. Just event stuff, temporary tweaks for the vibe. I'm sorry if it felt off. We'll sort it. His apology sounded rehearsed, and his quick glance at Harper didn't help. You keep saying temporary, but it's my house, not a rental hall. I pressed. He sighed, exasperated. Can't you just trust me? It's one weekend. I let it drop, but his words rang hollow, like a used car salesman's pitch. Back at the house for the rehearsal walkthrough, the transformation hit me like a slap. A massive white tent swallowed the backyard, its stakes digging into the lawn where Mom's roses once grew. String lights dangled from rented arches, and my living room furniture was shoved against walls to make way for banquet tables draped in linen. I stood frozen, the air thick with floral perfume, as Harper directed vendors like a stage manager. It's perfect, she cooed, catching my eye. Better than any venue we could have booked. I nodded, my throat tight, but my gaze landed on my locked bedroom door. The knob jiggled slightly as I approached, and when I unlocked it, my heart sank. 2 suitcases sat by the bed, unzipped, spilling unfamiliar clothes, silk scarves, a man's dress shoes. My jewelry box was askew, drawers slightly open. I stormed to the kitchen where Harper was arranging wine glasses. Why are there suitcases in my room? I locked it for a reason. She blinked, all innocence. Oh, those? Just overflow for the bridal party. Safe storage. We'll move them. Her casual dismissal didn't match the violation I felt. Before I could push, I overheard Victor in the den, his voice low but clear through the open door. The foundation's solid for an extension, he said to a man in a hard hat, gesturing at my walls. Check the setbacks. We'll need permits for the new wing. My blood ran cold. I slipped away, my hands shaking as I dialed Carla, my lawyer, from the porch. Carla, it's worse, I whispered, the night air chilling my skin. Suitcases in my room, Victor talking renovations with a contractor. It's not just a party. Her voice was steady, cutting through my panic. Riley, you've got the photos, the cameras, the notebook. Keep documenting. I found something else. Your utility account change request? It's got a forged signature. Aiden's trying to establish residency. My stomach dropped. Forged? How? I had a contact at the bank pull the records, she said. Your co-worker, Sam, confirmed it's not your signature. We're ready to move Monday. Stay sharp. I hung up, the porch swing creaking as I sat, staring at the tent glowing in the yard. Aiden's apology at dinner, his promise to sort it, was just another lie. What else had he faked to claim my home? If Riley's betrayal is hitting hard, like and subscribe for the showdown. The glowing tent in my backyard, the suitcases in my locked bedroom, and Victor's talk of renovations with a contractor. It all screamed that Aiden and Harper's vow renewal was a cover for something bigger. As I stood on the porch, the night air sharp against my skin, Carla's words about a forged utility bill signature echoed in my head. My Chicago suburb home, Mom's legacy, was slipping away, and I was sleeping in an inn to escape the chaos. I gripped my phone, the call with Carla still fresh, and forced myself to focus on tomorrow's ceremony. I wanted to believe in the joy of their day, but every new clue, blueprints, lies to neighbors, fake documents, pointed to a takeover. The morning of the vow renewal dawned crisp and golden, the kind of October day that made the suburbs feel like a postcard. I drove back to the house, my suitcase in the trunk, and stepped onto the porch, now transformed into a stage. White chairs lined the lawn, a floral arch framed the driveway, and string lights twinkled against the fading daylight. The tent in the backyard glowed, tables set with crystal and linens. It was beautiful, like something out of Harper's event planning portfolio, but it felt like a stranger's house. I slipped inside, checking my bedroom. Still locked, but the suitcases were gone, leaving only a faint scuff on the floor. My relief was short-lived. The living room was unrecognizable, Mom's furniture pushed to the walls, replaced by rented tables draped in white. The ceremony started at dusk, and I stood at the back, arms crossed, trying to soak in the moment. Aiden and Harper stood under the arch, her gown catching the soft light, his smile wide as he repeated his vows. Guests dabbed their eyes, the porch creaking softly under their weight. For a fleeting second, I saw the brother who'd taught me to ride a bike, the one who'd made Mom laugh even on her worst days. I wanted to feel happy, to believe this was just a celebration. But the memory of that forged signature, the blueprints, and Harper's sticky note kept me grounded, my jaw tight as I clapped with the crowd. At the reception, under the tent's warm glow, the mood shifted to toasts and clinking glasses. I sipped a soda, keeping to the edges, when Victor, Harper's dad, took the microphone. His voice boomed, all polished charm. "To Aiden and Harper, and to this beautiful home, here's to their new chapter, right here in this charming space." The crowd cheered, but my stomach twisted. New chapter? Here? Guests nodded, some raising glasses, others whispering. I caught snippets. Perfect place to settle. Lucky they've got this house. My eyes found Aiden, who stared at his plate, avoiding my gaze. I slipped toward the bar for a breather, where the best man, a guy named Jake, was chatting with the server. He grinned when he saw me. "Riley, this place is a dream." Harper was telling me it's their forever home now. Called it the Thompson residence. Pretty bold, huh? My heart sank. I forced a laugh, muttering something vague, but his words burned. Forever home? I moved through the crowd, my dress brushing against chairs, until I overheard Harper by the dessert table, her voice low to a bridesmaid. "We're moving in right after the honeymoon. Aiden's got it all worked out with Riley. She's ready to let go." My blood ran cold. Let go? I gripped my glass, the ice clinking as her words sank in. Aiden wasn't just complicit. He was orchestrating this. I ducked into the kitchen, needing air, and spotted the cake on the counter. A towering thing with a topper that stopped me dead. It was a miniature couple standing in front of a ranch house, identical to mine, down to the wraparound porch and maple tree. A server nearby chuckled. "Cute, right? Harper said it's their new home base." My hands shook as I stepped away, the tense laughter fading to a dull roar. I checked my office, still locked, but found a mover's card wedged under the doorframe, confirming a truck for 8 a.m. Monday. The date stared back at me, bold as a neon sign. They weren't just celebrating, they were claiming my home, and the whole world seemed to know it, but me. What would I find when I came back tomorrow? The mover's card, with its stark 8 a.m. Monday slot, burned a hole in my pocket as I left the vow renewal, the tense glow fading behind me. Harper's words about moving in after the honeymoon and the cake topper mimicking my house, down to Mom's maple tree, confirmed this wasn't just a party. My Chicago suburb home, the one I'd fought to keep through years of sweat and sacrifice, was their target. And Aiden's silence during Victor's toast told me he was neck-deep in it. I drove back to the inn, the night pressing against the car windows, my mind racing. Carla's warning about the forged utility bill signature and the blueprints for renovations haunted me. I barely slept, the cozy room feeling like a cage. By dawn, I knew I had to face them. Today. Monday morning broke gray and heavy, clouds hanging low over the suburb. I pulled into my driveway at 7:30 a.m., earlier than planned, my heart hammering as I spotted a moving truck idling at the curb. Two guys were unloading furniture. A sleek sectional, a glass coffee table, nothing like my sturdy oak pieces. Aiden stood on the porch, directing them with that salesman grin, Harper beside him in a chic sweater, pointing at the front door. My blood boiled. I slammed the car door, the sound cutting through the quiet. "What the hell is this?" I called, striding toward them, the mover's card crumpled in my fist. Aiden turned, his smile faltering but quick to recover. "Riley, you're early. Just storing some stuff for a bit. Harper's lease ended, so we figured—" I cut him off, voice sharp. "Storing in my house without asking?" Harper stepped forward, her tone soothing. "It's temporary, Riley, just till we sort out our next place." Victor emerged from the house, clipboard in hand, Elaine trailing. "We thought the guest wing would work nicely," he said, gesturing at my den like it was already theirs. "Guest wing?" I snapped. "This is my home, not a hotel." Aiden draped an arm around me, his voice low, coaxing. "Sis, come on. Mom always said this place was for both of us. Remember her letter? A family home." My chest tightened, his use of Mom's words slicing deep. "Don't you dare bring Mom into this," I said, stepping back. "You forged my signature on the utility bill, Aiden. You're not storing. You're moving in." His eyes widened, but before he could respond, a black sedan pulled up, and Carla Ruiz stepped out, her suit crisp, briefcase in hand. "Riley's attorney," she announced, her voice like steel. "You're trespassing." Victor bristled, but Carla didn't flinch. She pulled out a folder, handing me the deed, my name alone in bold print. "This is Riley's property, solely owned, no co-ownership, no verbal agreements. The utility change? Forged. We've got the bank's confirmation." She held up a document, my coworker Sam's analysis clear as day. Harper's face paled, her hands twisting. "Aiden, you said she agreed." She hissed, turning on him. My stomach lurched. Harper wasn't the victim I'd thought. "You planned this," I said, staring her down. She hesitated, then her mask slipped. "We both did, Riley. This house is wasted on you. Traveling for work, no family. We'd make it a real home." The air crackled. Aiden jumped in, voice desperate. "Riley, I swear I thought you'd come around. Mom would have wanted us here. Together." His plea was a knife, twisting memories of Mom's frail hands and late-night talks. "Mom left it to me because I was there," I said, my voice steady despite the ache. "You weren't." Carla stepped forward. "You've got 1 hour to clear out, or I call the sheriff for trespass and fraud," Victor argued, citing family agreements, but Carla shut him down. "No court will honor forgeries or lies to neighbors about Riley selling." Harper turned on Aiden, tears streaking her mascara. "You said it was airtight! You lied to me, too!" Elaine pulled her away, whispering, while Victor barked at the movers to reload the truck. Aiden grabbed my arm, his eyes pleading. "Riley, don't do this. We're family." I shook him off, my voice cold. "Family doesn't steal. You made your choice." The movers hustled, furniture scraping the porch as they hauled it back. Victor muttered about finding another place. His face red, while Elaine shot Aiden a look of pure venom. Carla stayed by my side, her presence a lifeline as the truck pulled away. Aiden lingered, his shoulders slumped. "Mom would be ashamed of you," he said, voice low. The words cut, but I held his gaze. "She'd be ashamed of you, Aiden." He turned away, climbing into Harper's SUV without another word. As they drove off, the house stood quiet, but the weight of their betrayal clung to every corner. Carla touched my arm. "We stopped them, but there's more to clean up." "Ready for the next step?" I nodded, my eyes on the porch, but a new question gnawed. What damage had they already done inside? The moving truck's taillights vanished down the quiet Chicago suburb street, leaving my porch empty, but my heart heavy with Aiden's final jab. "Mom would be ashamed of you." Carla's hand on my arm grounded me as I stared at the house, its familiar lines now scarred by betrayal. The vow renewal was over, the tent and decorations still cluttering my yard, but the real damage was invisible. Aiden and Harper's scheme to claim my home, Mom's legacy, stopped only by Carla's swift legal moves. As we stood in the gray morning light, her question about the next step hung in the air. I nodded, but my eyes lingered on the front door, dreading what I'd find inside. The fight wasn't over yet. Back in the house, the silence was deafening, broken only by the creak of the hardwood floors I'd refinished myself. I walked through, my sneakers scuffing against scuff marks from the mover's boots. In the living room, the banquet tables remained, linens askew, and Mom's oak table was still shoved against the wall, a leg scratched. The walls bore new scars, nail holes where Harper's team had hung temporary decor, patches of paint chipped from their careless setup. In the kitchen, I found a folder on the counter stuffed with permits for renovations, except they were fake, the county seal crooked, Aiden's name listed as the applicant. My stomach churned. They'd planned to gut this place, starting with Mom's maple tree, now barely visible behind rented trellises. Around noon, a sheriff's deputy knocked, his badge glinting in the weak sunlight. "Got a complaint from Aiden Thompson," he said, flipping open a notepad. "Claims you're wrongfully evicting him from his residence." My jaw dropped, but Carla stepped in, her voice calm but razor-sharp. "Deputy, this is Riley's property, solely deeded to her. Here's the documentation." She handed over the deed and the forged utility bill analysis from my coworker Sam. "Aiden's claim is baseless, trespass and fraud at best." The deputy skimmed the papers, nodding. "Looks clear to me. I'll close this out." As he left, I sank onto the couch, the weight of Aiden's audacity hitting like a wave. He'd gone to the law, still trying to twist the narrative. Later, I ran into Mrs. Carter, our nosy but kind neighbor, while sweeping the porch. Her eyes were soft with concern. "Riley, I heard the commotion. Aiden told us last week you'd agreed to split the house with him, said it was in your mom's will." I froze, broom in hand. "Mrs. Carter, there's no split. Mom left it to me, full stop." She frowned, shaking her head. "He was so convincing. Even showed us a letter from your mom about both her kids sharing it." My blood ran cold. That letter, the one Aiden emailed me, twisting Mom's words, was his weapon, used to sway everyone around me. The scale of his lies, from neighbors to fake permits, felt like a noose tightening. That evening, my phone buzzed with a call from Aunt Karen. "Riley, honey, Aiden's been telling me you're giving him the house for his family," she said, her voice wavering. "Said you're moving to the city." I gripped the phone, my voice steady but raw. "Karen, he's lying. I never agreed to that. He's been forging documents, manipulating everyone." She gasped, promising to set the record straight with the family. Hanging up, I felt a pang of grief, not just for the house, but for the brother I thought I knew. The next day, I got a text from Mike, an old high school buddy of Aiden's, asking to meet. Over coffee at a diner, he leaned forward, his voice low. "Riley, I heard about the house drama. Aiden pulled something like this before. Tried to borrow my uncle's cabin upstate, claimed it was a family share deal. Nearly got away with it until we caught him forging lease papers." My coffee went cold in my hands. Aiden's pattern wasn't new. I'd just been blind to it, too busy bailing him out over the years. That night, my phone lit up with Harper's number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Her voice was shaky, no trace of her usual polish. "Riley, I'm so sorry. I thought Aiden had it all worked out with you. He lied to me too. Said you were selling. That it was mutual." She paused, sniffling. "I found out he did this with an ex's condo, tried to claim it as his. I'm filing for annulment." I stayed silent, her apology ringing hollow after her admission at the confrontation. She'd been in on the plan. "Thanks for calling," I said coolly, hanging up. I sat on the porch swing, the creek familiar but lonely, staring at the tent still cluttering the yard. Aiden's web of lies was unraveling, but at what cost to the home I'd fought for? The porch swing's familiar creak offered little comfort as I sat in the dusk, Harper's shaky apology echoing in my mind. Her admission about Aiden's history of scams, trying to claim an ex's condo, only deepened the sting of his betrayal. My Chicago suburb home, Mom's legacy, bore the scars of their scheme. Scratched floors, chipped paint, fake permits left behind like taunts. The tent still loomed in the backyard, a reminder of how close I'd come to losing everything. Mike's story about Aiden's past, Aunt Karen's confusion, and the neighbors' gossip all painted a clear picture. My brother had woven a web of lies, and I'd been too trusting to see it. But as the stars emerged, I knew I couldn't stay in this house. Not like this. The next morning, I called a locksmith. The clank of new deadbolts replacing the old ones a small act of reclaiming control. I hired a security company to install cameras and alarms, their techs wiring the place while I swept up debris from the vow renewal. The living room walls, pocked with nail holes, needed patching, and I spent hours moving Mom's oak table back to its rightful spot, its scratched leg a wound I couldn't fully heal. Each task grounded me, but the house felt different, less like a sanctuary, more like a battlefield. I kept Carla's number on speed dial, her warning about Aiden's potential next moves ringing in my ears. A letter arrived that afternoon, slipped under the door in Aiden's scrawled handwriting. My heart sank as I opened it, expecting another plea. Instead, it was venom. "You're selfish, Riley," he wrote. "Mom wanted us to share this house, and you're spitting on her memory. I'll fight for my half. See you in court." The threat hit like a slap, but it wasn't the legal jab that hurt. It was his nerve to weaponize Mom again. I tossed the letter on the counter, my hand steady but my chest tight. Family was supposed to mean something, but Aiden had burned that bridge. I didn't reply. He'd hear from Carla if he tried anything. Needing clarity, I booked a session with Dr. Ellis, a therapist I'd seen briefly after Mom's passing. Her office, all soft blues and warm light, felt like a safe harbor. "Aiden's always taken, hasn't he?" she asked gently after I spilled the saga. His childhood hero fees, the unpaid loans, now this. I nodded, memories flooding back, covering his rent at 17, bailing him out of debts while I scraped by. "It's a pattern," she said. "You've been his safety net, but you're allowed to set boundaries." Her words clicked like a key in a lock. I'd spent years equating love with sacrifice, but love didn't mean letting someone walk over me. "Start small," she said. "Say no, mean it, and don't apologize." I left her office lighter, resolved to protect myself, not just the house. The decision to sell came a week later, after meeting Mike again at our old diner. He slid into the booth, his face grim. "Aiden tried that stunt with my cousin's garage, too," he said, stirring his coffee. "Convinced her it was family property until she caught him forging a lease." "You're not alone, Riley." His story mirrored mine too closely, cementing my choice. This house, with its memories of Mom, was also tainted by Aiden's greed. Staying felt like living in a trap. I called a real estate agent, not the one from Harper's Card, and listed the house. It sold fast, the market hot for suburban ranches. With the proceeds, I bought a smaller place downtown, a sleek condo with a balcony and no ghosts of betrayal. The move was bittersweet. Packing Mom's recipe cards and the photo of us by the maple tree, I felt her presence, but also my own strength. The new place was mine, free of Aiden's shadow. My phone buzzed one last time with a text from him. "You'll regret cutting me out. We're family." I read it, my finger hovering over the reply button, then deleted it. No guilt, no apologies, just boundaries, like Dr. Ellis said. I was done being his safety net. Standing on my new balcony, the city skyline sparkling below, I thought about family, not the one I was born into, but the one I'd build. Leah, Carla, even Mike, they'd shown up when it counted. Self-respect, I realized, wasn't just keeping a house, it was knowing my worth. Aiden's lies had cost me a home, but they'd given me something else, the courage to say no. If Riley's journey hit you, comment your story, share, and subscribe for more.